News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by U&I Furniture. Well, the snow and cold, a late winter storm closed schools in parts of southern Idaho today. As of this morning, the Preston School District canceled all classes. Officials said schools in the district were closed due to continued blowing snow in southeastern Idaho. Meanwhile, Cache County and Logan City school districts announced no closures or delays. Officials said all schools were operating on a regular school day schedule. The Box Elder School District announced last evening that it would institute a delayed start for classes. The district was already planning a 1-hour delay today, but extended that delay an additional hour. Snow is expected to continue through tonight, and the forecast for the Cache Valley is for that winter storm warning to continue until 11 o'clock tonight. And snow this evening, then a slight chance of snow after midnight, low 5 to 10 above. And then a 40% chance of snow in the afternoon on Thursday, high temperature in the mid-20s. 30% chance of snow Thursday night, and then a 30% chance of snow still with us on Friday. Friday's high around 30 degrees. After 38, our high yesterday, it's been to 22, and right now we're at 19 degrees at KVNU, and we've picked up about 4 inches of snow since this morning, and out of that, 6,900ths of an inch as far as water content of that snow. KVNU weather brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. Stop by for cold weather items. Save up to $19 a pair on silicone wiper blades from Trico and Rain-X at your 5 locally owned Preston to Providence Napa Auto Parts.
Most people who buy from U&I Furniture are repeat customers. They come back again and again. So it's important to U&I to sell furniture with value and quality. And U&I loves what they do. They support local manufacturers and American-made brands. U&I's line of Southern Motion specializes in reclining furniture. Best Brand Furniture offers more petite styles. And U&I just added Klosner, who has a wide range of options and takes lots of special orders. It's a family-owned 4th-generation furniture store where value and quality is and always has been offered. That's why it's always a better buy at U&I Furniture, downtown Logan.
KVNU News Time is 4:07. There are a lot of new businesses that have popped up in downtown Logan, but some have been a regular fixture for decades. One of those is Bernina Stylish Fabrics, located at 138 North Main in downtown Logan. Many adults remember spending time there as kids when their mom needed to go in there and see and feel the different fabric selections the store carries. On KVNU's For the People program on Monday, store manager Fonda Rutland said this is their 65th year.
We've been here for 65 years, and I think there's a good chunk of us that as children remember having our moms, like you said, drag us into the store and look around at all the fun stuff. Some, kids don't find it fun, but I remember coming in as a kid and seeing all the pretty dress fabrics and the wedding lace and all that fun stuff. And it wasn't, exciting to me as a kid then, but, everybody thought it was just fantastic. And it's just fun that we're still here and we're able to still be here and help everyone.
Rutland said the store, while being in the same Main Street location, has transitioned with what they've offered over the years.
We initially started out 65 years ago specializing in more dress fabric, wedding dresses, and then lace. We brought in lots of lace. And we've since, over the years, we've evolved into more of a quilting store. We carry 100% cotton quilting fabrics now. And we have a very large selection of minky. We also carry Bernina sewing machines, and these are things that we specialize in, and we like to show our customers, how fantastic these products are.
Also, sewing classes for all skill levels are still held in-store and also as Facebook Live classes. You can see all those listed on their website, stylishfabricsandquilts.com. And Stephen Ashworth had 19 points, and Utah State pulled away in the second half for a 65-55 win against Wyoming last night in Laramie. Ashworth had 7 rebounds for Utah State. Daniel Atkins scored 11 points while shooting 5 of 6 from the field. Also, Max Shulga recorded 11 points and was 3 of 7 shooting. With the win, Utah State improves to 11-5 in Mountain West Conference play, 22-7 overall. Next up for Utah State, they have about a week off. They are back in action next Wednesday on the road at UNLV. KVNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs, recognizing first responders and other deserving individuals in our community. Friday mornings at 8:30 on News Talk KVNU.
Hi, this is Drew Allen with Allen Mortuaries. Over the years, thousands of families have planned ahead with Allen Mortuaries. Planning ahead helps you make informed and thoughtful decisions. It also spares your family the stress of making these decisions under the pressure of time and strong emotions. Allen Mortuaries' secure pre-need trust plan can save you nearly 40% versus other plans. Keep it simple, safe, and secure. Go with the proven choice, Allen Mortuaries. Voted best funeral home in Cache Valley in northern Utah. Allen Mortuaries. Then, now, always.
Hi, this is Deputy Solanoa from the Cache County Sheriff's Office, inviting everyone to join us for a dodgeball tournament to benefit Special Olympics Utah. The tournament will be held Thursday afternoon, March 2nd at Ridgeline High School. Teams can be made up of 6 to 10 players. The tournament will be double elimination with prizes for the winning team. Only the first 14 teams will be accepted, so sign up now by visiting the Sheriff's Office Facebook page. There will be food trucks, music, and tons of fun. Help us raise money for Special Olympics Utah and join us for the dodgeball tournament Thursday, March 2nd from 3 to 6 p.m. at Ridgeline High School.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have 2 guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Wednesday, February 22nd. Quite a day on Capitol Hill. We'll recap the action on now 8 days to go until Sign or Die, 1 week from this Friday at midnight. And we'll see what kind of trouble, damage, whatever you want to call it, they get up to between now and then. It's been an interesting session, so stay tuned for recaps coming up in Hour 2. Here in Hour 1, it is time for this month's installment of Speak to the Mayor, our monthly segment with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines. And Mayor Daines, appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
I'm glad to be here.
I was afraid that I thought earlier today, maybe I should email Teresa at the city and say, if the mayor wants to skip it due to the snow and the weather, we would understand. Luckily, things cleared up a little bit this afternoon. To make it at least safe to come down.
That's right. Our crews have been out and working hard.
I'm impressed, and I mean this is no slight to any other city, but Logan City is on top of it when it comes to snow removal. And this is twice now a lot of snow in one storm.
Right. Well, this morning, someone in Public Works was giving me the data. Last year, we had 13 events where we had to go out and clear snow. This year, so far, we're up to 31, and we're not to the end of February.
That puts it in perspective.
Yeah. And again, Tuesday night after City Council, we had like one person in the audience, I think, because it was so snowy. And, we still had council meeting. The council members came, and afterwards the Public Works Director said, just so you know, we have plows that will be out until 10 o'clock, clearing as much as they can. We'll send them home to rest until 4 a.m. They'll start again at 4 a.m., hopefully get as much cleared as they can by the time people need to go to work at, 7-ish.
Oh, sure. And
they just keep going, so bless their hearts.
I really have appreciated that this year, thinking about the average work day of the road crew, snow removal, plow driver, whatever role it might be. This is a situation where, if a storm comes in, you're working. Right? And
true.
Through the night, sometimes. We had a great question from a listener. A listener wanted to know Are there shifts similar to what the fire department does or Logan City Police, where you have sort of a night crew, or is it just a crew and when there's snow they all work? And
Right. On the public works, when it's snow, they work. And again, if they get over their certain number of hours, we do pay them overtime. That's the law. We live by that.
Sure.
There are some laws just for drivers that if you get to a certain number of hours, you do have to have a rest break, which just makes sense as well. So hence we try and send them home between about, at least midnight and 4 a.m., if not, longer stretches, just depending on the storm. But they try to stay on top of it. And, in fact, it's interesting. We used, during the winter, we used those streets crews because there isn't as much to do outside to do some work on our interior buildings. They've got some great skills. Carpet laying, we needed to replace carpet in, one of our buildings. They can lay tile. Again, good skills. So
it's impressive.
We started to lay the carpet, and then we just knew that if it was a snowy day, we weren't going to see them. They would go plow.
Busy elsewhere.
And, it might sit for a couple of days till they got the streets all cleared, and then they'd come back and put in some hours inside fixing. And that just saves us money, saves taxpayers money if we can, use those crews different ways during the winter. But they've certainly gotten their hours in plowing this year.
To say the least. It is... there's a message here on the Logan City website, and for listeners, if you have a situation in your neighborhood where there's dangerous snow or ice, let Logan City know, 716-9025. But also a request from the public to pitch in a little bit themselves as well and keep paths clear. I have a neighbor down at the corner opposite of mine that is in a wheelchair. And she and her kids run the dog on a leash up the sidewalk and down to a nearby park. So I'm really conscious of keeping that. I take the snowblower down the whole strip of the block because it's just fields next to me. And that's the kind of thing we're talking about, right? If you can do something like that to keep a sidewalk clear.
Right, and clear those ADA ramps. That is so helpful. The other thing we worry about is fire hydrants. The snow is so deep that it can actually, hide the fire hydrants. So if they have to go out on an emergency call. So, again, some people just don't have the ability to physically do that.
Sure.
But it's sure a good deed if you can clear off those ramps or around fire hydrants just to make it, easier for our crews to respond if needed.
Sure. I was speaking with a member, or maybe former member, I'm not sure if she's still doing it, of one of the neighborhood groups that Logan City organizes and meets with regularly. And she said she and her neighbors had kind of worked up this plan because they had some elderly neighbors that, weren't able, especially snow like this, weren't able to get out and shovel heavy, wet snow like this. And so they worked up a kind of a schedule so they could go out and help their neighbors. And I thought that was a really cool story to, just think about some of those neighbors you might have, or if there's a house that, I don't think there are many of these in Logan City right now, but a house that isn't currently occupied or rented.
Right.
Maybe clear the walk in front of that if it's next to you or something like that. Just that little extra bit. And if nothing else, the kids walking to school.
Exactly. You'd be surprised how many people still use our sidewalks in the winter, whether it's just to get out for exercise or walk the dog or to go somewhere. So, again, please, and it is the law in Logan City that you do have to clear the sidewalk in front of your property, adjacent to any of your property. So, please do that. And there are some sources of people that will help if you can't physically do that. Let us know at the city, and we can try and reach out to some of these volunteers that do that. But one other thing that I'll mention while we're discussing is you mentioned the neighborhoods. The Wilson neighborhood is kind of the next neighborhood that we're going to do one of our big master plans for. We do these neighborhood-specific plans. We've done Woodruff, we've done Hillcrest, we've done Adams. So we are asking for
and Woodruff,
input.
They love what's happened there.
We have, again, there's been great input from that neighborhood, and we're now doing the same thing for the Wilson neighborhood, which is, again, one of our historic neighborhoods. So on March 8th at 5:30 p.m. at the Wilson School, if you live in that neighborhood, you are welcome and encouraged to come and provide input. There will be, some various stations. We'll have folks there from the city. The neighborhood council members will be there. So come join us on that if you would like to.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I love that Logan City does this because it invites people in, to some of the intimate and important decisions the city makes, and allows people to have feedback in a way that, sure, we can all go to a city council meeting, or we can all, send an email to the city or leave a message or a phone call, but being able to meet as a neighborhood and say, and I know you've spoken about this before, sometimes things have been brought to the city's attention that otherwise the city may not know about.
Exactly.
You mentioned fire hydrants. That's a great example, because sometimes those snow piles get pretty deep on the corners, and if there's a fire in the neighborhood and they have to spend 35 minutes chiseling the ice and snow away from it first. But these neighborhood councils are more about long-term planning, right?
Right, exactly. And, I went to an Adams Neighborhood Council meeting maybe 6 months ago, and a woman said, I walk this street, and it just seems really dark compared to the other streets. And so I asked my Light and Power guys to go take a look, and they said, she's right, it is dark. And they had, within a couple of weeks, they had a new light pole installed to help with safety in that area. And, that doesn't happen everywhere, but, sometimes, again, we just don't know about things, and if they're brought to our attention, we can address them. But
that's very cool.
Yeah. And one other thing I guess I'd put out there as a plea, this year we've just had such unusual snow and temperatures, and, of course, those are the things that make inversions happen.
Yeah.
The last several years, I don't even think we've had a red air day, but this year we've had a number of those. We had one particularly bad a few weeks ago. So can I just remind folks to do their part? I know it's cold in the morning when you wake up, but if you can just, scrape your car and get in and go and not idle it for 10 minutes while, to try and de-ice. It does take a little more work on your part, but it helps the air we breathe. Again, if you're going through a drive-through, if there's any way you can park and go in, that helps, or at least turn your car off.
Plus extra steps.
Exactly, good point. Or if you're picking up kids from school, think about that. You have all these children waiting to be picked up. You don't want to put all those emissions in the air for the kids that are standing there. So, wear an extra coat, bring your gloves so you can turn your car off for, 15 minutes while you wait or something. And that will just help all of us if we can all do our part to try and reduce idling, because that is a huge part of our emissions in Cache Valley. And we have a beautiful valley, but those mountains create walls, and, the cold temps put a lid on the top. And, you can look out and see it. It's brown and yucky, and nobody likes it. So
not very good for you. And, it's interesting. I was thinking about this the other day, Mayor Daines. I blame the smartphone in a way, and I'm guilty of this as well, but I was waiting for a phone call. And so I was sitting there in my vehicle outside of a gym that I go to, not as often as I should. And I watched as people came out. They would come out, get in their car, start their car, and then start, checking messages, looking at maybe social media. I don't know what it was. And I don't think we realize how long we're sitting there sometimes, 15, 20 minutes of idling. And that's a lot of extra emissions in the air. But also from a mechanical point of view, we spoke with an expert on this a few months ago, and I'll just remind listeners, if they want to listen to that podcast, it's actually very bad for your car to idle. It doesn't heat it up any faster. In fact, it'll heat faster driving. But idling, as the expert we spoke with explained, it changes your oil pressure enough that it actually you're wearing on your car a little bit more when you're sitting there idling than when you're driving with full oil pressure.
Interesting. So this was a mechanic?
Yeah, it was a mechanic we spoke with.
I did not know that. That's another great reason, as you said, not to idle. I've learned something new today. Thanks for sharing that.
He said, it's a small difference, but it's enough that you are actually you're doubling the wear when you're just sitting there idling than when you're moving along with full oil pressure. And I'd never, and he said that's even newer vehicles. So
good to know.
Another reason to not idle on top of keeping our air clean and reducing driving if you can as well, consolidating trips in the wintertime especially. And as Mayor Daines mentioned, picking up kids at school. Maybe let them take the bus when we already have air problems to reduce the cars on the road. A lot of different things we can do. Logan City Mayor Holly Daines, our guest here in the studio for Speak to the Mayor. If you'd like to join us with a question or a comment, 753-5868. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, John Weiss here at Heritage Jeep. After owning my first Jeep for a couple of years, I started to lose track of how many vehicles I would help pull out of the snow in any given season. And a decade later, my Jeep is still going strong. And right now, during the President's Day sales event, we've got great deals on all Jeeps at Heritage. Like $3,000 total cash allowance on 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee L. Don't get stuck. Stick it to the winter weather with the help of your friends at Heritage Jeep, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
With so much financial uncertainty, are you wondering if your retirement savings will last? The market's ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. Your Edward Jones financial advisor can help. If you have more questions than answers about what's next, they can work with you to help ensure you're prepared for the future. After all, retirement isn't the end of the road, it's a new beginning. Call one of the 7 branch locations in Cache Valley or go to edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. It is Speak to the Mayor with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines here in the studio, 753-5868. And Mayor, I know you always come with some items that you'd like to get word out on and have a discussion about. And for listeners, you're welcome to join us as well. Downtown, we had a fun show the other day. I was thinking about all the changes in downtown and our conversations each month here with you in the studio and how fun it is to see all this change happening. And I'm really excited for the future of downtown. And then I got thinking, there are these, I think of them as sort of legacy businesses, these businesses that have been in downtown forever. And they're just a part of, I was driving down Main Street the other day and I drove past the Bernina store. And I had this memory, I hadn't thought of this in years, but being drug in there by my mom and hours, it seemed like, of looking at fabric. And,
oh, I bet you enjoyed that.
I'm sure it was like 15 minutes, but it seemed like days. Mm-hmm. And we would always be bribed with, we'll stop at the municipal pool after or something like that. And so we had a chance to interview them and talk to them about being in downtown Logan since 1958.
Wow.
And that's something, it's really unique. Logan City's downtown has this mix. We have new businesses like Proper Brewing and some others, and then you have these other businesses that have been there since the middle of last century, and they're coexisting and have a symbiotic relationship. The manager mentioned that they get a lot of foot traffic from nearby restaurants.
Great. And
that's just an aspect of downtown that is unique to downtown.
Right. And like you say, just some of those, Needham's Jewelry, how long have they been there? And, to provide local advice. And, Anderson Seed and Garden. And, again, you can walk in with a leaf if it has a funny,
I've done that.
Funny something on it saying, help, what do I do? And, they know. But,
I went in and said, what is this?
Sportsmen, with clothing there. So, and those businesses have, they have managed to sort of change with the times, and they have stayed relevant and interesting and provided kind of that niche market that can really compete with the big box stores and that draw people in, when, sometimes, again, the other stores may have lots of choices and, discount prices, but they provide a service and something unique and interesting, and I think that's really valuable.
And it's really fun to see that mix of very old and very new, and just kind of be reminded that there's something about a downtown where, everyone succeeding is kind of, the part of it.
Right.
Everybody, the better a store next to you might be doing really well, and that's bringing people into your store. And
True.
So it's just, that's very downtown. And so I'm excited to see, downtown kind of coming together. And man, that library is going fast.
It is, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But before we move on, I just wanted to say, do listeners know that the Ellen Eccles Theater is turning 100 years old this year? It was built and opened in 1823, and now we are, 1923. I'm getting my years. Wow. So it's wonderful. It's beautiful. Yeah. And if you haven't had Wendy Hassan in to talk about the history of that theater,
we're planning.
You should do good. You should do that.
We're planning to have her in. Charlie and I do a theater hour every Thursday, and last Thursday we talked a bit about this because they'd announced the celebration, and we told some stories. And I remember as a kid, back when it was a movie theater, the Capitol,
right.
And I remember as a kid going there, and they had Disney had recycled Pete's Dragon. It was on tour again at theaters, and they had a big paper mache Pete's Dragon in that entryway.
How fun!
They couldn't peel me away from that thing to go see the movie. But
that's a great memory.
Such an integral part of downtown, and to see what it's become as the Eccles Theater and what Wendy's doing with it there.
And then the Utah Theater and the Lyric Theater, which kind of makes that historic theater district for downtown. And they really draw people downtown for entertainment. And again, those are things you can't get on the internet, is live entertainment.
That's, I think, one of the most impressive things, and I'm sure they have plenty of options they could be located, but the Logan City's downtown is the perfect spot, by their decision, their choice, is the perfect spot for the Utah Festival Opera every year. That's something that they could easily fly that in Salt Lake at all the theaters, but they're more spread out, and they're more, and that they choose to locate in Logan, I think it just says Logan's got a very unique downtown.
Exactly, and we're fortunate to have them. But anyway, going back to the library, I don't know if you've seen the brick going up on the library.
Yeah.
The north side, the brick is done.
I was surprised. I thought the weather would bring things pretty much to a halt.
The crews have been amazing. I mean, they've worked some inside as well as out, but with the bricks, you have to keep the mortar to be a certain temperature. It doesn't cure properly, and then it can disintegrate. But they can very successfully tent it. So as long as they put the plastic up, they have a propane heater going in there, so it keeps the temperature. So when I went to the construction site and kind of went under the plastic so we could see the brick going up and make sure we liked it, and the bricklayers were in their shirt sleeves working, even though it was darn cold outside. So
that's very cool.
And they've actually now started to do the same thing at Center Block. I noticed they have the big tents going up, so the brick on the Plaza 45 building is starting to go up there underneath those tents, and that's exciting. But and one thing that's interesting, if people notice the pattern, when the architects designed it, they loved our mountains, and so they kind of put a mountain design in the brick doesn't cost anymore, but you reverse some of the bricks, so we have a textured brick on most of it, and then every so often they'll turn it so there's a smooth side that just gives you some relief and variation in the surface. And I'm excited to see it, all cleaned up, and when I can get back, because there is supposed to be kind of a mountain pattern reflected, so we can all kind of look for that on the different sides of the building when we get it finished. But again, they're doing a lot of work inside as well, so probably early fall on the library.
That's impressive.
Again, we're still planning on May for Center Block Plaza, so
that is
more to come on that.
And the library is still operating out of its temporary location, right?
Correct.
And still kind of you don't go tour the bookshelves kind of situation. You can look online, and then they'll have it ready for you when you get there.
Exactly. They have a few new things out, but generally you do just, again, order it online and then do a pickup. So we've managed to keep people. And then there's also a lot of online options. They subscribe to services where you can, download a book online. So have an audio book for free, just like libraries are always free, which is a wonderful thing.
This is very cool. This is, and I notice, I don't know, I can't remember if this is in the plan, but looking at the library building there, if it's not in the plan, maybe it's too late. There's a perfect spot for a patio there.
Well, and so we'll talk about that.
Is that in the plan?
There is going to be, and that's one thing about going 3 stories, because the original library, just took up a bigger footprint. So by going 3 stories, we have more real estate, so to speak, to accommodate both a larger plaza and a bigger parking area. And that's actually something I did want to mention today, because if you are planning to come to City Hall in the next couple of months for anything, pay a utility bill, come to a city council meeting for a meeting, whatever, the parking is going to be different for the next couple of months, because in order to gain additional parking and work it all in with the new library construction, we are going to totally redo the existing parking lot at City Hall. So starting this Friday, day after tomorrow, the fencing will go up, and we're going to close first the west part of the parking lot at City Hall, and we're going to put out some social media messages on this and some maps and so on. But the west side will be closed to start with. So we'll ask employees to park further away, and we have some other parking, on the north side of 300 North for them. But visitors can park on 100 West or 300 North, and we'll have some ADA access available that will be signed that can still get you to the front of, the front doors of City Hall. People can still park on the south side of that parking lot. And again, this is the one between the post office and City Hall. Maybe that helps. So the south side of City Hall, between the post office and City Hall, that's the big parking area that will be totally redone. So again, the west side of that will be fenced off starting Friday. The south side will still be open for about another month, and then it will need to be shut down completely too. For, so it's going to be kind of a pain for a while, but it's just part of the process. If you're upgrading, and we have to do some new stormwater in the parking lot, some new landscaping. You have to bring it up to current code if you redo it. So it should be, again, it's going to be really great when it's finished. So please be patient with us.
In the end, additional
meantime,
parking, right? When it's all said and done, there will be more parking there at City Hall.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of people still come into utility billing, but you can pay your bill online. You can set that up to make it easy for you. We've actually we have our business license renewals online, and, we've put some other things online. So, see if we can help you through a phone call so you don't have to come down, or if there's a way you can avoid the construction. But there will be ways into City Hall, both ADA accessible as well as for the general public as needed.
My cheat is that north side.
Exactly.
During business hours.
And, there's a trick that I didn't know for a long time. If you park on 300 North, you can walk through the police building and get to the plaza. So that's your shortcut. If you're parking during regular business hours. Certainly you can't do it after, regular business hours, but that is a good shortcut if you're parking on 300 North to get to the main plaza and in the front doors of City Hall. I can't believe I've
never thought of that. I always park on that north side to avoid fighting for a parking spot and walk around. I've never thought about going through the police department. Just saying hi.
From 8 to 5, you can do that.
That's right. There is a big hall there. Very cool. Talking about all the changes, and again, as Mayor Daines said, that begins this Friday. Some changes to parking around City Hall, which will be moving around a bit from east to south side there as they dig up and replace the surface and the landscaping and more, all part of a big City Hall Plaza block project that includes that new library and more, and coming along faster than I thought the weather would permit. If you have a question or a comment, 753-5868. More with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines, and speak to the mayor here on For the People right after the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:38, and the news is brought to you by Roof Rescue. With dangerous snow-packed roads, again today, UDOT crews worked overtime to prepare. Transportation tech John Ride said every detail matters in preparing for storms. Ride explained that with heavier storms like this, plow drivers create what are called windrows, where all the snow comes off the plows, and by the end of the fourth plow, it can be a foot high depending on how much snow there is. He knows the plows drive slow, but he asks other drivers and commuters to be patient. Ride said when someone tries to pass, they drive in front of them and they end up spinning out because there's no salt or sand yet on the road. He said their job is not only to clear the roadways for commuters, but also for Utah Highway Patrol troopers and other first responders. He said that they want to clear the roads for ambulances, and they're not only doing this for themselves, but for families and for everyone that they can. Ride said UDOT has a dayside and a nightside crew, and as long as snow is falling, they'll be working to clear it off the roads. Idaho could bring back firing squads as a method of execution under legislation introduced by a panel of lawmakers today. The state eliminated its never-used firing squad option in 2009, but has been unable to secure the drugs needed for lethal executions. Only Utah, Mississippi, Oklahoma, and South Carolina currently have laws allowing firing squads if other execution methods are unavailable, but a judge has put South Carolina's law on hold until a lawsuit challenging the method is resolved. The bill from Idaho Republican Representative Bruce Skog would allow firing squads to be used when lethal injection is not available. Idaho canceled a planned execution last year when prison officials could not obtain lethal injection drugs. And alcohol sales soon will be allowed in a tiny Nevada town with Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints roots and a decades-long ban on buying beer, wine, and liquor. Lincoln County, Nevada commissioners on Tuesday unanimously endorsed a local board vote taken several months ago to let businesses sell alcohol in Alamo. The Fuel Stop town is about a 90-minute drive from Las Vegas. Alamo Town Board Chairman Vern Holliday told the Las Vegas Review-Journal the decision will allow the local supermarket to compete with rival businesses outside town. KBNU News Time is 4:41.
This is David from Roof Rescue. A roof is not something most people think about until they notice a leak on the ceiling. This time of year, fluctuation in temperatures, along with rain, snow, and ice, can do a number on your roof. If you notice these leaks, they won't go away on their own and are oftentimes a sign that the roof has reached the beginning of the end of its life. Call Roof Rescue for a free analysis, diagnosis, and estimate. Let's fix those leaks and keep you dry this winter. Call 435-999-4268 or visit roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KBNU weather for tonight. Winter storm warning in effect until 11 o'clock tonight. And a chance of snow still with us this evening. A slight chance of snow after midnight. The overnight low 5 to 10 above. Chance of snow 40%. And then about a 40% chance of snow redeveloping in the afternoon on Thursday. But we also are expecting a little bit of sunshine. Partly sunny skies, mid-20s tomorrow. It's been to 22. It's 18 right now at KBNU. Bring back the sounds you've been missing. Schedule a free hearing evaluation with Dr. Paul Daines at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's get the Wall Street Close, sponsored this afternoon by Edward Jones.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Stocks closed mixed today after falling to their worst losses so far this year. The Dow fell 85 points, the S&P gave up 6, but the Nasdaq rose 15. After a better-than-expected January, stocks hit a wall this month on worries that inflation is not slowing as quickly or as smoothly as the Federal Reserve had hoped. The minutes from the Fed's latest meeting showed policymakers still think inflation's too high, and that's why the central bank says more rate hikes are coming as it tries to bring inflation down to the 2% target rate. Remember, while higher interest rates can help drive down inflation, there's always the possibility that the increases could trigger a recession. Amazon has closed the nearly $4 billion deal to buy the primary care organization One Medical. The health company runs a membership-based service that offers virtual care as well as in-person visits. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
Now that the holidays are over, are you feeling the need to declutter and get that stale, closed-up smell out of your home? You should have your air ducts cleaned by the Duct Hunter. The dust that accumulates over time can appear as surface dust and can cause your home to smell musty and dusty. Call the Duct Hunter at 770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your Attention all high school sports fans. The high school basketball playoffs are underway. Cache Valley Media Group and Cache Valley Daily have got you covered. Don't miss any of the thrilling action as the top teams battle it out for a chance at the championship. Our live broadcasts of all the exciting playoff games for both girls and boys basketball are available on local radio and streaming on CacheValleyDaily.com. Tune in now and catch the playoffs in action.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Bill, I forgot we had a music request from a listener, but we'll get to it in an hour or two. We don't do music requests often here, but occasionally.
I can sing it.
Occasionally.
If you
Better
want
you
it.
than me.
Yeah. It's Speak to the Mayor here on KVN News for the People. And as you just heard, there will be no singing. And we'll save that for when Teresa's in sometime, or the chief maybe. But I appreciate you taking the time to do this with us each month. I know, an hour out of your day is not an insignificant thing for us to ask for, but it's fun to be able to cover all these topics. And I'd mentioned through the break, I was impressed. I assumed winter would bring most things to a halt, but the area where the new fire station is going to be located is cleared already. All of those old structures already gone. And some things starting to come up already. That I assume that puts them right on schedule.
They are on schedule. They've poured footings. They've started block walls. It's amazing what they can. And, these construction crews are used to working on Utah winters. Granted, this has been a little over the top, but
they deserve a thumbs up for adaptation.
They do, and the biggest thing that might hold us up on the completion end of the fire station is some switching gear, like electrical switching gear that, has a long lead time. So they're trying to find ways around that so we can indeed get open by September. But again, like you said, lots going on. But
it's coming together.
Even with all the winter projects we have going on, you'd be surprised how already, especially, Public Works is looking towards spring and what's going to happen then. So we've already had, our Streets Division manager, he's been out walking the rivers, hopefully not in a blizzard, but just to look for snags and things that could cause flooding in the river.
Things that might need to be pulled out before.
Because we have so much snow in the mountains, which we're grateful for our water year, we're also praying that it doesn't all melt at one time, that it doesn't get really warm really quickly, because that, of course, could bring flooding conditions. So they're already starting to think about, okay, we need to look and, clear the rivers so there aren't blockages that could cause flooding. We need to start thinking about, are we going to pre-fill some sandbags so we can have those available if we need them. So, again, thinking about those details, but also thinking about, okay, as soon as it's spring, there's some sewer line work that we want to do.
Sure.
This is an area that, it's kind of prevention, and, they're planning some work around the intersection of 12th East and 1150 North, and this will be late spring. And what they're doing there is they take a new pipe and they pull it through the old pipe, kind of extending the life of the sewer main by decades. And with this method, you don't have to dig up the road, and the work can be done in a fraction of the time. So this is newer technology that we're starting to use to, to replace some of our aging infrastructure without the massive impact of digging up the whole street. So some creative new ways to address infrastructure.
I know, the state during this legislative session just still dotting the I's and crossing the T's on the state budget. But I know Utah is sitting on a lot of both American Rescue Plan money from 2022, but also from the spring of 2022, the Infrastructure Reinvestment Act from fall of 2022. And they are trying to decide how to divvy that up. Has Logan City been able to. I know, the legislature showing Logan some love, although this is really for everybody long term when it comes to railroads right now, kind of going to bat for the city in various ways. Representative Casey Snyder on top of that, I know. But has it been, in your discussions with the legislature, with our representatives, has it been, is Cache Valley, Logan specifically, getting some attention, at least in this? Because I know they plan to spend a lot of money
on infrastructure.
Yeah, and I just worry it always ends up going to the Wasatch Front in Salt Lake.
Right, and again, a lot of it goes to UDOT, which,
Sure.
UDOT certainly has projects up here. I mean, the SR30 project was one that they intended, they bid, I don't know, what was it, last summer?
Yeah,
and the bids came in so much higher that they just said, wow, we have to put this off for a year. We'll break it into 2 projects, try and start doing the preloading of the fill they need through some of the areas, and then they'll rebid. So again, the state has, they have a lot of infrastructure needs as well. They haven't really designated much specifically to the cities. But we did appreciate the help on the railroad, and, Casey Snyder really helped us out. And funny thing, after his bill was introduced, we finally got an agreement from the railroad that we'd been waiting for months. And I mean, we've been working on it for over a year.
Yeah.
So we finally have a signed agreement on how we can move forward with that intersection that has the bag stoplights that driving us all crazy now.
That's a nice resolution, because I know last month we spoke, it was still very much up in the air.
And that the benefit of that agreement is it gives us sort of an outline of how we're going to address that intersection plus 3 others that we really need to deal with in the future.
Sure.
But the next thing we have to wait for is UDOT has to do all the work in their right-of-way. So they have to widen the traffic crossing, the automobile crossing, across the tracks. Those are cement panels they need to put in. But since the agreement was signed, they have been in contact with our Public Works Department.
So
they have a lot of the materials that they've ordered. Again, it's going to take them, it may still be summer before we get it done. But they've said they would put that at the top of their priority list, given other kind of imminent safety issues that they need to address. But they seem to be moving on ordering the material, and they have said they will get that done as fast as they can. So we will all cheer when that intersection can be, when the portion over the railroad tracks is widened and we can take those bags off the stoplights and have the integrated system with the the train warning system, and that will be a huge blow for freedom for all of us.
Absolutely. It was, honestly, one of the most frustrating things I've seen happen in a long time, where you have the railroads make a decision, put a stop to an intersection and actually make it less safe. That's what just boggled me about this whole thing. They actually, their decision that led to having to turn that back into a 4-way stop, that is actually less safe.
That was our position. Granted,
crossing railroad tracks.
It was not their position, but that was our position.
Absolutely blew me away. But glad to hear that is resolved. And I wondered if that might be the case when the state was getting serious about this. A couple of bills, actually. And I was interested to learn that this is not, and I'm sure you knew this, not unique to Logan City in this intersection. There are 4 or 5 other projects that have been stymied like this in southern Utah and in many other places in the state.
Brigham's had some issues with them. I mean, plus, just again, other states. We're not the only one that are dealing with railroad issues, to be honest.
And I get that they have to be, supersedent in a lot of ways, because you couldn't have, cities just making any decision whatsoever with a railroad crossing intersection. But just to be so
unwilling to have a reasonable discussion.
To sit down and say, look, this actually made the intersection worse. 753-5868 if you'd like to join us. Speak to the mayor with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines here in the studio continues right after this.
Dr. Josh Red, chiropractic physician, explains how Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
A lot of our patients end up having autoimmune conditions. This is where their immune system, rather than attacking bacteria, a virus, or other bad things, it starts to attack their own tissue. This can cause so many different issues and symptoms throughout the whole body. The biggest thing for us at Red River is to identify what's causing the autoimmune response to flare up. This could be intestinal problems, blood sugar imbalances, cortisol defects, hormonal imbalances, along with something as simple as dietary triggers and environmental triggers. One of the most common causes, too, when you have an autoimmune condition is you'll have inflammation throughout the whole body. Not every patient will have the same imbalances or the same triggers, and so we have to customize a very personalized treatment plan in order for these patients to feel better.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
It's never too late or too cold to get rid of that old vehicle. Now is the time to earn extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
Hi, this is Deputy Solanoa from the Cache County Sheriff's Office, inviting everyone to join us for a dodgeball tournament to benefit Special Olympics Utah. The tournament will be held Thursday afternoon, March 2nd at Ridgeline High School. Teams can be made up of 6 to 10 players. The tournament will be double elimination with prizes for the winning team. Only the first 14 teams will be accepted, so sign up now by visiting the Sheriff's Office Facebook page. There will be food trucks, music, and tons of fun. Help us raise money for Special Olympics Utah and join us for the dodgeball tournament Thursday, March 2nd from 3 to 6 p.m. at Ridgeline High School.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Logan City Mayor Holly Daines, our guest here in the studio. Only 4 minutes left, unfortunately, so we can't really get into anything too in-depth, but have we covered all the important business, the things you wanted to make sure and get to today?
I think so, and we appreciated all the feedback we got on the proposed dog park. I think we talked in another show about a big master plan that we're doing as we close the landfill. That's out on about 200 South and between 13th and 19th West, kind of that general area. Again, we'd love to turn the landfill into a mountain bike park. I mean, again, as you close it and cover it, you can't build homes on any of that property that's right around the landfill. There's a protection zone, but you can turn it into park space. So we'll be applying for some big grants from the state. They have a Utah Outdoor Recreation grant that is substantial that we're going for. Again, we'd have to match it, so we're working on things like RAPS grants, requests, and other things to try and match that. It's going to be a multi-year process because, again, sometimes you have to fund these things in steps because, you just don't have all the money at once. But there's some great plans. Again, also a master plan above Lundstrom Park. There was some open space there that will be turned into the Foothill Nature Park. Again, working on, plans for that, and things just, we wish we had more money to, but, step by step, we have a plan and we make progress and continue to work on those goals. Again, my major goals were financial accountability, downtown revitalization, working on infrastructure, and, continuing to work on parks and trails. And I think the track record shows we have worked on that. We'll continue to work on that for the next few years. And
I think the financial creativity of all of these projects, and we've talked about this before, there is so much going on in downtown and other parts of the city. And some of these things that have been just kind of hanging over everyone's head for 2 decades, 3 decades, as a discussion, as a maybe one day kind of thing, and seeing all this come together, but in a way that, the financial creativity of funding all of this without ballooning the city's budget has been impressive to see.
We've leveraged a lot of donations, grants, all sorts of things. So
it's a smart way to do it, but very cool to do it, see it happening. And as someone who doesn't live in Logan City, I'll be honest with you, the rest of us are all very excited to take advantage of all these things that are coming or have happened, especially downtown. Mayor Daines, always appreciate your time here in the studio, and thank you for coming down on a snowy day, and I hope your drive home is safe, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, and thanks to our listeners for their time as well. Stay tuned, recapping the day on Capitol Hill at the start of Hour 2 of today's show right after this here on KVNU Logan.
news at the top and bottom of the hour. News Talk KVNU, Logan, 610 AM at 102.1 FM. Proud to be locally owned and operated by the Cache Valley Media.